So welcome to accessing and analyzing open data using Power Query. So I'm Ryan Young. I'm a Director of Performance Evaluation Analytics. It's a lot of syllables. I'm here with Lori Lamb, who's a data analyst, and we're both work for the New York State Department of Citywide Administrative Services. And we use Power Query a lot. And the reason why we use it a lot is there are a couple of reasons actually. So one, it's free. It's free in the sense it comes with Excel. So if you have Excel, then it's free. So if you're a city employee, you should be good. Um, it saves your time and money. Um, you know, w- it, think about the last time you had to do a very complex task in Excel. You had to write lots of formulas and it took a lot of time. Um, you know, what if there was a way that you could shorten that amount of time? And um, by shortening that amount of time, you could spend your time doing other things, and as a result, save time and money. Um, because you're automating more tasks, you're going to reduce errors and improve your accuracy. And most importantly, now that you have all this time, you can become an Excel hero and start delegating more um, and become a leader in your agency or your organization. And kind of let me show you how. So um, let's say you have to run a weekly report on leasing. And you can see on the left-hand side, these are the steps. You have to export the CSV weekly leases. You have to save the file, the folder, the insert Excel table. You can see blah, 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 blah. And most importantly, the deadline for the report is Monday at 5 p.m. Um, let's say though, that you have to take a vacation at some point, or you're out sick or something, right? And you have to explain to your coworker how to run this report. It will take time for you to write down all these steps and to show the person how to do them. But with Power Query, we can reduce these steps to the right-hand column, to just export the CSV of weekly leases, replace the file in the folder, and then refresh the query. Now, you have more time to work on other projects. You can delegate this to someone else, and perhaps, you can automate processes in the other parts of your organization, and that will help you grow in your career. So I think Power Query is very powerful in that way as well. So there are lots of things that you can do with Power Query. You can connect and import, transform and clean, aggregate and group. It helps with error handling and quality control, handle complex data relationships, and many more things. We're just going to get to the surface of Power Query today. There's a lot more you can do, but we encourage you to explore it on your own. So let's say you want to be a data analyst, or you're already a data analyst. Kind of where does Power Query fit in? First, the thing you want to know about Power Query is you can get data from almost every source. So you can get it from Excel, you can get it from the XLS, you can get it from a CSV, you can get it from a database. You can get it from Salesforce, for example. You can also get it from the web. You can connect to data on Wikipedia, as well as today, we're going to show you the New York City Open Data Portal. And once you connect it to the data, you can transform it in the Power Query editor. That's where you actually do most of your cleaning. And once you're done with that, you can output that to Microsoft Excel or to Power BI. And this last one's going to be save you the most time. Once that's done, you've made this automation. All you have to do is press a button and it will refresh. It'll connect back to that original data source and it will automatically transform it and output it. So that's kind of the power of Power Query. So how do you get to Power Query? So first you're going to go to Excel. You're going to open up the app, not Excel on the web. Excel on the web does not have Power Query. So select data on the menu. And as you can see, there are lots of different options that you can connect to. So once you hit data, select get data, you're going to want from other sources. And the one we want is from OData Feed. And guess what OData stands for? The way you connect to an open data set on the open data portal through Power Query is with an endpoint. So what you do is every open data page has a unique OData URL. So to access that endpoint, for example, for Jobs NYC, you go to that data set's webpage on the open data portal, and you um, go to Actions at the top, and then you select Access by Open Data. Once you get there, it will open up a link that will that you can copy and paste into Excel, where it asks you for the link to the open data portal. Then what you're going to do is you're going to click Transform Data. First, this preview of the open data set will show up. Then you're going to press Transform Data. I'm going fast, but we'll show this again. Don't worry. And then that will open up the Power Query editor. So this is where you're going to interact mostly with Power Query. You can also write code. There is a language. The Power Query language is called M. Anyone want to guess what M stands for, by the way, in the chat? The Power Query language. Macro. Okay, that's a good pick. That's a good guess. Message. Microsoft twice. Good guess. Good guess. I would guess that too. Manage. That's the great thing about these ambiguously named names, because it could be so many different things. So it stands for mashup. I used to think it was Microsoft, but it actually does stand for mashup, which actually kind of makes some sense. The bad news about M is that it's different from any other Microsoft language that you've ever heard of. So it's different from DAX, it's different from Excel, it's different from Visual Basic. The good news is I've only had to use M like 2 or 3 times in my life. So most of the stuff you can do makes it you can do in the Power Query editor, which is great. So it's a graphical interface. All you have to do is click, and you can generally get what you want. But let me kind of explain what the Power Query editor is first. So at the top, as you can see, number 1 is the ribbon. It's like any other Microsoft Office application. It's where most of your functions are. On the left-hand side are your queries. So each of your connections is a query. Each of your individual connections to a data set is a query. They're on your left-hand side. In 3, that's the current view. That's kind of that's a preview of your data, what it actually looks like. It's like a spreadsheet. 4, on the right-hand side are the query settings. So the query settings are the steps that you're using in this query. And what's cool about that is you can delete steps, you can add steps. And sometimes Power Query, stuff takes time to load. At the bottom is your status bar. It tells you the number of columns, number of rows, and how long this query has been running. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Lori, who's going to do a little demo of Power Query.
All right. So first thing we're going to want to do is open up a blank Excel workbook. And then from there, like Ryan spoke about, we're going to want to go to data. But before we do that, let's first go to the New York City jobs, New York City postings. And so this data set contains all the current job postings available on the City of New York's official job site. And it's for internal and external candidates. And we're just going to want to go to Actions. Once again, access via OData, copy. And then after that link is copied, we're going to want to open up our blank Excel sheet. We're going to go to the Data tab, Get Data from other sources, from OData feed, and paste in that link. and press OK. And then like Ryan said, we'll see a preview of the data set, and then we're going to want to click transform to start working on cleaning it. And from there, we're first, what I like to do is just take a look at the data set that we have and preview it to see if there are any, easy cleanings we can do. We have our editing ribbon at the top, our query pane on the left, and our query setting on the right. And you can also see here, my view looks slightly different than the one Ryan previewed. It also has, the quality of each column. So whether each row is valid. So that means if there's data in each row, if there's an error and if it's empty. And to include this, the column quality, you want to go to the tab view, and just click column quality, and this will show up for you too. And quickly looking at our data, we see posting date, we see process date, but the data type here is in text. And we want to change that to date and time. You can do that very quickly by clicking the ABC and clicking date and time. And this will allow us to do analysis and more accurate analysis in the future. So once again, process date is a date, but it's categorized as a text, and we just want to change that to date and time. Easy. So we've cleaned 2 columns already. Scrolling to the right, let's see if there's anything else, any data types we can change. Other data types we can change. We see salary range 2, and it's currently also in text, and we can change that to currency quickly. And because there's a salary range 2, we know that there's most likely a salary range from. So working on scrolling, post until, that's just a date. There's no time attached to it. Posting updated, date and time once again. Let's keep scrolling. Business title, we have level, and now we see salary range from. We want to first change that to currency. And if you're using Excel, you would know that, having to rearrange columns is quite complicated. You would have to, either cut and paste, copy and paste, and then delete your old column to just rearrange and to insert the new column. However, in Power Query Editor, it makes it very easy to rearrange your columns. You just need to click and drag to where you want to put it. So we're just going to put this next to salary range 2. So we can make much easier analysis. There we go. And now they're next to each other. And now going back, scrolling to the right to see if there's any other columns, data types that need to be changed. And we see here next to job ID, recruitment contact, all of our rows are empty. And having empty rows does not help us with doing any analysis. So we can easily remove that column in Home and using the Remove Columns button. By clicking that, it's removed. But what if we accidentally removed a column we didn't want? So going back to applied steps, we can easily undo that by clicking X, and the column is back. But, since this is the correct column we want to remove and it's 100% empty, we'll remove the column again. All right, and everything else looks pretty clean. The last step for us here is to change the name of this query to Jobs NYC, so we know exactly where this data is coming from and what it is. And from here, we're going to want to add our other next data set. So let's go back to Open Data. We'll go to the City Record Online this time. And the City Record Online is a searchable database of notices published in the City Record newspaper, which includes public hearings, meetings, public auctions, sales, solicitations, and awards. And once again, we're going to click Action, Access via OData, copy, go back to our Excel workbook, click on, in the Home tab, Power Query Editors open, click on New Source, Other Sources, and OData Feed. And we're going to paste in that OData link and press OK. And once again, a preview will pop up. And we can see in the preview already there are going to be a lot of null columns and null rows in this data set. Press OK. And here's our query. And since, we see already columns that are 100% empty, we're just going to want to remove those columns. We can keep the ones that are 99% empty since they have some data in it. And with the other null columns that are 100% empty, you just want to highlight that column, hold Control, and click on all the other empty columns to remove at the same time. Keep scrolling. Let's see. Empty, empty. And this will make our data set much, much cleaner by removing all the columns we're not going to be using. So now it also, because it's much cleaner and also smaller, it'll make it easier to work with and easier to load. And now, since we've removed those empty columns, let's go back and look at our data set to see if there are any data type changes we can make. Section name, short title, these are all text, so that's good. We see end date here. This actually needs to be changed to date and time. Same with start date, date and time. Request ID, right now, it's in a decimal number, which is fine if request ID was a number that we want to do analysis and calculations with. However, it is a distinct value, and we can just change that to text, actually. Let's go. Everything else looks pretty good. And then additional description. We see that there's a lot of data in it. It's telling us effective date. It's telling us provisional status. It's telling us title code, reason for change, salary, and employee name, which is a lot of useful information. However, it's not helpful and it's complicated to do analysis with when it's all in one row. So what can we do to clean this? We can split that data up. We can have effective date have its own column, provisional status with its own column, title code its own column, and etc. And to do that, we want to split column by delimiter, because we can see when we look back in the row that each different subject is being split by a semicolon, and because Power Query is sensitive, it also counts spaces. So it is a semicolon and space, and not just a semicolon. So we want to split column by delimiter. And then here they have different delimiters you can select by colon, comma, equal sign, semicolon, space, tab. But we're going to do a custom one since we don't see semicolon, space. And we want to make sure it's split at each occurrence of the delimiter. And we want to press OK. And from there, we can see it's created 6 new additional columns for us, and also many more, because some of these rows might have additional values, but we're not going to be using any of these values today. So we just want to select the column, press Shift, go, and then scroll all the way to the right until we see an additional description 1.39 and just remove those columns. And now going back to our new split columns, we see effective date, provisional status, title code, but we only really need the date from here. So we want to change the column name here to effective date so we know what this column is. And how do we get just the date? So now we're going to go to the transform tab, and we're going to go under text column, we're going to do extract, and we're going to do extract after the delimiter, and we can see that there's a colon and it's space. So we want to do colon, space, and press OK. And then now we just have the dates, and we can change this data type because we know it's a date data type to date. And, and because we know we have this column quality checker here, it's telling us that there are 2 errors, and we can easily remove those errors from this button. Let that load, and now all our rows are clean. And moving on to the next column for provisional status, we want to change the name of the column so we know what it is once again. And then we're also just going to extract everything after provisional status. So extract text after delimiter, :space, and press OK. And if you didn't put the space after the colon, just remember you can go back and undo that step by under applied steps and clicking X. And we're going to do this for the next 4 columns. So title code, extract text after delimiter. Once again, : space. Press OK. And we're going to do this for reason for change. Once again, extract text after delimiter, : space. And if you just wanted the text before delimiter, that would be extracting text before delimiter. So for salary, want to change the name of the column, extract text after delimiter, : space. Once again, press OK. And we know salary is a currency, so we just want to change that data type so we can do a better, more accurate analysis with it. And finally, we have employee name, extract text after delimiter, : space. Press OK. There you go. We've cleaned this data set for city record, and we just want to rename our query so we know what it is. So city record. Press OK. And now we're going to move on to adding our next data set, which is the Green Book. And the Green Book allows New Yorkers to search for agencies, offices, boards, and commissions that keep our city running. Once again, action, access via OData, copy, go back to your Excel workbook. Power Query Editor should still be open. New source, other sources, OData feed, and paste in the link and press OK. And then a preview will pop up, press OK. And once again, we're going to walk through this the same as we did with the other data sets. We're going to see if there are any null columns, empty columns, and remove those, and also quickly change data types. All right, so scrolling to the right. Let's see. Looking for any empty columns to remove. All right, we see one here. It's also easy to tell because there's a status bar here. And if it's green, it means it's full. If it's gray colored, that means it's empty. So we just want to remove. All right. And another column, remove. Let's see. And then there's nothing else really. Now we look for data types that we can change. Agency. All right. The data types look good. We also, yep. Also feel free to rearrange the columns. Sometimes we want to see the address next to the state, city next to the state, so we can also do that. You can also rearrange that easily. And And now looking at each row to see if there are any changes we need to make, we see under agency name, the name of some of these rows are ordered a little differently. So this says actuary, comma, office of, and this says administrative child and hearing, office of, and aging, comma, department for the. So what if we wanted to clean this column and make sure it's saying office of actuary and it reads as it sounds? So to do that, we're going to want to split the column once again by delimiter. And this is actually, we want to do custom because it's not just a comma, it's comma, space. And you could split at the leftmost delimiter since there's only one, or each occurrence of delimiter because there's only one, the results will be the same, and we'll press OK. And so now we split it up, and we want to make sure we rearrange these columns. So put office of in front of actuary. So you want to rearrange in a way where when you read it, it makes sense. And now we're going to select both columns. So click on the column, press shift, and then select the second column. And we're going to go to transform and merge these columns back together. And for now, do we need a separator? If you're unsure, you can click none and press OK. And then when you read it, we see that, oh, we actually need a space. So how do we go back and do that? We'll go back to our applied steps. And to undo that, just click X next to merge columns. And once again, we're going to select our two columns that we want to merge together, merge columns, and put a separator for space, and click OK. And now we have a much cleaner agency column. And so we just want to rename this column to agency name. And I like to follow, the similar naming conventions that are already in the data set. And after that, we're done with this data set. We've cleaned it, and we want to change the name to Greenbook. All right, and we have one more data set that we're going to upload and clean, and that will be City Store. And this data set has an inventory of all the products available at the City Store. Once again, we're going to go to Actions, Access via OData, Copy, open our Excel workbook, go to Home, New Source, Other Sources, OData Feed. Press OK. And press OK once again. So having multiple queries will make it very easy for you to do quick analysis on multiple data sets at the same time. And if some data sets are related to each other, you can create pivot tables and pivot charts using all the data sets at the same time. So once again, to clean the data, we're going to look for empty columns to remove first and then change data types. So here we see style, 100% null, remove. All right, and I guess that's it. This is a smaller data set. And now we're going to look for any data types we need to change. We see unit price. It's in decimal number. We can just change that to currency. And for here, let's say we just want to know, each individual product. We don't need to see duplicates of each product. And we see here, we see New York City Subway 5 train multiple times, 6 train multiple times, New York City Subway t-shirt, and the item number is the same. So to remove duplicates, we can either click on product name or item number. I'm going to go with item number. We're going to go to transform. Oh, no, actually, we're going to stay at home. We're going to go to remove rows, and click the chevron, and easily remove duplicates that way. And now we know each distinct product, individual product that is available in the City Store. And we can change the name, the query here to City Store, and press OK, press enter, and our name is changed. And now that we've uploaded all of our data sets, we can close and load too. So we want to click close and load too, because close and load will just upload it to Excel, and you'll find it'll create these new tables for you. But because some of our data sets are pretty large, like the New York city record has 20 columns and over 999 rows, it might take a long time for that to actually load into a table. So you want to click and load to, and instead of table, we're not going to do a table. We're not going to do a pivot table report or pivot chart because we'll work on those later. And right now we just only want to create a connection, and remember to click add this to the data model. Click OK. And this might take a few minutes to load since the city record data set is kind of large. So if you have any questions at this point, please feel free to put them in the chat. And we can do some live troubleshooting.
Yeah, Lori, we do have some questions. So let's ask and answer them. All right. So why would you change request ID to text instead of whole number? Generally, it doesn't matter that much. It matters if the ID has a leading zero. So if it has a leading zero, the text matters a lot because the whole number removes the leading zero. So if you're like trying to match things together, it creates a problem. So generally ID, it just kind of, as a standard practice, it makes sense to change it to a text. Let's see here. Daniela says, can you read the function in the function box in plain language? What syntax are those functions using? For example, table.transform columns, parentheses number, rename columns. So that's the M language that like I'm not that great at, I have to admit. Generally, it's the thing that follows the dot is like as the subset of the larger function. So if table dot transform columns is a function within table to transform the columns of that table. So there's also like value dot something or column dot something. So those are like the forms of that particular function. Can you show Julie, can you show how to split up those two columns one more time? The agency name columns. Yeah, I can show that while that is loading up. Here we go. Excel, share. All right, so this is the city record again. And this is the agency name column that we want to split up and then remerge together. So what we want to do is they're separated. You see here, the separator, the delimiter is comma space. So what we want is transform. We're going to split the column by delimiter. We want a custom one, and we want to do comma space. Hit OK. So now we have actuary and office of. That's agency name. That's agency name 2. And now we want office of to be at the first part. We're going to go transform now. Actually, sorry. Yeah, transform. Where is it?
Yeah, it's there. You just have to highlight both columns that you want to merge together.
Got it. Well, I'm gonna go. Yeah. So let's do transform. Highlight agency name 2 and agency name 1. We'll go merge columns. We do want a separator. We want a space. And we can call this agency underscore name. Click OK. Oh, wait, did I do it wrong? I did wrong. Sorry. Merge columns. I think I've did them in wrong order. Transform merge columns. Click OK. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, I forgot the delimiter. There. Options. Merge. Delimiter space. Okay. There you go. So it matters apparently the order that you click on the columns to merge. So the one that you want to have at the beginning, you have to click that first, I just learned. And then you click on the thing you want at the end second. And then you do the merge columns and you make sure you have the delimiter. So hopefully that answers your question. Have any tips for processing the really big open data sets in Power Query? Example, the 311 data set. Lori, I think like kind of the only tip I have is to like use a connection instead of creating a table.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my only tip too, is to probably help it. Just don't load it into a table itself, but add it to your data model and use it as a connection. Because if it has over, I believe, like over a million or 2 million views, it will slow down Excel a lot, and also all your rows will not be able to be loaded because Excel has a limit. All right, I'm gonna share my screen again. Because my data sets have been loaded. And now we're gonna work on creating some pivot tables with our data set. So once it's loaded, you'll see it on the right-hand column here. And we can easily create pivot tables using our connections and our queries now. So we go to insert pivot table, click this chevron down, and from data model. And we can click OK, the existing worksheet is fine. Press OK. Oh, actually, we want to make sure that we have highlighted A1 or a cell that we can see. Once again, pivot table from data model, an existing worksheet, press OK. And we're going to start with jobs NYC. And, let's say we want to see agency and the number of positions available. So we can easily click agency and we put numbers as positions in values, and you'll see this pivot chart here. And you can filter by, we can easily find which agency you're looking for. So let's see, we can't find DCAS easily. So put admin, press OK. We see here, Department of Administrative Services, we have 30 open positions currently. And we can easily clear the filter and see it all again. So there's that. And let's say we want to see maybe average salary by agency. Once again, pivot table, press OK. Jobs, New York City. We have agency once again. And looking at the data set now, we have salary range from salary range 2, but we don't have average salary. And yes, you could easily, create a formula here and find out in the row next to you, or we can create a new column in Power Query. And so to do that, let's go back to our query. So we have the pivot table fields here, and this is a tab for the queries and connection. So you can go back here, do right click and edit, and this will bring you back to your Power Query editor. And we see salary range from salary range 2, but we want average salary. So let's do add column. And there are different ways to add a column. You can add a column from example, do a custom column, or invoke a custom function. For today, we're just going to do custom column. And sometimes, the M language is pretty, self-explanatory, but sometimes it's a little more complicated for the function. For the function that we're going to do, it's going to be pretty easy. So we're going to do an average formula. So salary range from, we want to insert, close parentheses, plus salary range 2, insert, close parentheses, and then also put parentheses over both of them and divide by 2. And it'll also let you know here if there have been errors in your syntax. And click OK. And we can, oh, and let's also, before we click OK, let's change the name of the column to average salary. Click OK. And we'll see this here at the end, but we also need to change the data type to currency. All right, and after we're done with that, we go back home and close and load. Because we've already uploaded to our data model and created a connection, it will do that again for us. And this time, since we've only added one new column, it'll be pretty quick to load the data. Just wait a few seconds, and that should be available. All right. And now, since it's loaded, going back to our pivot table, and we just want to switch from queries and connections to pivot table fields. Jobs NYC, let's scroll down and see we have average salary. And we want to move that to values. And we see here it's the sum. We want to change it to average. So view value field settings. And we also notice that it's just the data type is general. It's just the text. So first, opening up, clicking down, clicking the value field settings, changing it to average, and then also go to number format, and you can change it to currency. Press OK again, and you'll see it's changed. Great. And here we can do, better. Now we can do quick analysis we can sort by the average salary. So Manhattan Community Board. Oh no, Department of Administrative Services. We're pretty close to the top. But let's see, what if we want to know what the top 10 agency are with the highest average salaries? We can easily do that here from value filters and clicking top 10 by average of average salary. Click OK. And now we can kind of start making a chart. So
CCAS is not in this group.
yeah. Clicking onto our pivot table, go to insert, and we can click pivot chart and click OK, and we see we have a column chart here available. And best practice is to rename your title. So these are the top 10 agencies with the highest average salary. And we don't really need this total, delete. We want to make it nice and clean. I usually like to remove the fill buttons. And we can also, let's create a new sheet for now and rename it dashboard. I like to move it to the front, go back to our sheet 1. Let's also rename that to jobs NYC. So we know all of the pivot tables made here are related to that data set. And if you right click on the chart, you can easily move this chart, move the object to the dashboard, click OK. And this is where all of our charts we'll start building our dashboard here with all our charts. Okay, moving on. Let's create a new sheet. Let's go to the next.
Lori, can we answer some questions perhaps? Or
yeah, sure. I know we're running out of time, and we have more data sets to work with. So I'm gonna share pause on working on this live, and we can answer some questions, and I'll share what ideally after making all your pivot tables and charts, how a final dashboard could look like.
All right. So Jets ask, the job NYC source looks like it's maybe Unicode. Is there a way to deal with that to avoid weird character substitutions? Or I'm going to share again. Answer is probably. Let's see if we can figure this out here. So this is the say record again, I think, or what is yes. So let's say we want to, from the agency phone number here, we want to get rid of these parentheses. Let's see if we can figure out how to do that here. So one thing you could do is you can add column and go column from examples. Move this over here. Or actually not. Let's try this. So we'll do 212. We want to make this 212 442 dash 5775, something like that. 212 dash 442 dash 5775. Oh, that worked kind of. This one here should be 844 dash 628 dash 4692. So, if you do this enough times, I think it'll figure it out probably. So that's one thing you can do is do this column by examples. Type in what you think it should look like, and Excel and Power Query may eventually figure it out. The other way to do it is if you know some M, I think there's a function called text trim, which will allow you to trim by specific characters. I think remove those. But this is probably kind of the quickest way to do it. You enter enough times, I think it will kind of figure it out what you exactly want to have removed. Okay. Could you also show the applied step list for one of the data sets you made a lot of transformations to? So at the end of this session, we will share that dashboard that Lori made. You can go into that query and actually see what the steps are. Troubleshooting question. When I did close and load to, two of the sheets did not show up. How do I fix this? Lori, could you go back to your Excel file?
Yes. Let's go to data.
Yeah.
Queries and connections. Oh. So this is edit. City record.
So Julia, make sure, I don't know if all the queries are there on the left-hand side. You know, they all need to be there in order for it to load. Can you exile this, Lori?
Mm-hmm.
Also, so here you can see here in the on Lori's screen, the save record did not fully load. It seems like did not complete. You can right click on that to refresh it. If that doesn't do it, we can go back and troubleshoot some more. But that those may be some things that are going on. Daniela, can you restate the use case that necessitates a pivot table? So pivot tables are great. Like they let you do calculations like within seconds using by just dragging and dropping different fields into the pivot table screen, the pane. So you can also filter, you can do average, sum, counts, and if you change your mind, you can just move the field around, and it will change. So it's dynamic. It's linked to that data set, and also the thing about pivot tables is they allow you to make pivot charts, like the things that you see on the screen here. My save record connection shows just over 1 million records loaded and 33,000 errors. Lori only has approximately 2,000 errors. Any thoughts on why I got so many more errors? It was quick, but I believe I followed all the steps to remove columns and clean the data. Lori, I think you removed errors at one point in the
I
city.
did. Yeah.
So there is there's a function there's in the Power Query transform, I think it is. Do what was it, Lori? Is it it's replace errors or something, right?
Yeah, it's remove errors.
Remove errors, yes. So that's probably where it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you go to transform, I believe under remove rows, the same area where we did remove duplicates, there's also a function where you can remove errors.
Why is there a smiley face on the upper left-hand corner? Excellent question. Lori and I were actually trying to figure this out actually recently. Share and find out. So you click on that. You can send a smile if you're happy with Power Query, or send a frown you're unhappy with Power Query. So it's basically a feedback form. You can tell, what changes you would like the Microsoft to make to Power Query. So that's what it is. We just noticed that actually. As the data is updated on the website, how can we update the data and Power Query and the dashboard? Ori, how would we do that?
Yeah, so my data is already refreshing, but if you go to yours, Excel file, go to data and you click refresh, it'll refresh your queries for you, it'll refresh the dashboard for you. And it's just kind of like a one button that does it all.
So that's kind of the power of Power Query is that once you've made these connections, that all you have to do is to reload it is just to hit that button.
And all the cleanings that you've made, if there is new data, Power Query is smart where the data will be, the nomenclature that you made, the formulas that you have, it'll be automated and pre-populate with the new rows that are included within the data set in open data. So you don't have to go back and clean it again with every new row of data that's added.
So Jenna wants to know, so you're not holding this data locally, but just connecting it to open data. Yes, that's right. So this actually, I know it feels like a long time, but actually it will save you a ton of time because you don't have to download it first and then load into Excel. You're right. You're just connecting to the open data portal. With the connection break, if open data changes the name of the data, potentially, yes. If the as long generally the link, if the link is stable, you should be okay. But if the name changes on the back end, it could break the connection, and then you can edit the steps in Power Query to get back to it, or you can create a new query. So unfortunately we're over, but like we have a little bit left. So, as I mentioned, what's great is it will save you time loading because you're just creating the connection. You're not actually downloading the data. So small files equals faster loading time. But kind of the most valuable part of Open Query of Power Query to recap is how easy it is to use. Can you imagine doing all the steps that we did today? Moving columns, merging columns, splitting columns. Imagine if we had to do all that stuff using a formula in Excel. Even if you're really good at formulas, it's going to take a lot of time to get the formula correct. And lastly, how easy is it to refresh? All you have to do is press a button, right? You just have to set it up once, and you should be good.